Welcome to my channel, Jennifer Woods. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me on your channel and for recommending this movie, Alfia. I might have seen the movie long ago, I can't remember. I think the first time I learned about the characters in the story, it was when reading Flowers in the Attic in high school. Kathy and Chris act out a play of production of Gone with the Wind for the twins in the attic. So Gone with the Wind opens with a disclaimer. The story is not PC, it tells history like it was. There's about 5 minutes worth of credits, I just fast forwarded through that. So Scarlett and two young men are talking about the war. This is the Civil War, even though the book was written years later. So these two guys inform Scarlett that Ashley Wilkes is marrying his cousin, Melanie. Scarlett isn't happy about this because she's in love with Ashley. Ashley, by the way, is a boy's name in this story. So Scarlett's father confirms the news. Ashley has no use for Scarlett when he can keep it in the family, Jerry Springer style. Scarlett's father tries to get her to care about their homestead and the land, but Scarlett's just like, boo-hoo, I want Ashley. Scarlett decides that at an upcoming barbecue, she'll tell Ashley that she loves him, and then he won't be able to help but fall in love with her. I'm sure that's exactly how it works out in real life, you know. Mammy tries to get Scarlett to eat something before going to the barbecue because otherwise she'll stuff herself there, and that's not becoming for a lady. Mammy sure gives Scarlett a piece of her mind throughout this movie. She's always on her case as well, as she should be. I'll get back to that later. Scarlett likes to say fiddly-dee a lot when someone says something to annoy her, but she does what Mammy says because she doesn't want to make a pig of herself in front of Ashley, I guess. At the barbecue, Scarlett flirts with men like Charles and Frank, who are already the beaux of other women. Frank Kennedy, for example, is her sister Sue Ellen's love interest. Not sure why Scarlett is being such a B-word. It's at this barbecue that Scarlett first meets Rhett Butler, who kind of reminds me of the Monopoly guy for some reason. He just has that air about him. He looks like the Monopoly guy with hair. So pretty much from the moment that Rhett lays eyes on Scarlett, he's got his heart set on her. He spies on her having a private conversation with Ashley at one point. Ashley makes it clear they have nothing in common, and that's that. But anyway, Scarlett ends up accepting the marriage proposal of Melanie's brother Charles. She doesn't really care for him. She still wants Ashley. Scarlett is the kind of woman who ends up with a new husband every time she throws a hissy fit. I think she gets married 3 times in all throughout the course of this movie, and not a single one of those men is Ashley. Anyway, after marrying Charles, he promptly goes and dies of pneumonia while at war. Her mother tells her to go off to Atlantis to spend time with the Hamiltons. Left and right, men Scarlett knows are turning up dead, but luckily for Melanie and for Scarlett, Ashley is not on that list. Meanwhile, Rhett continues to pursue Scarlett, and she continues to have her sights set on Ashley. Ashley and Melanie have a baby boy. Scarlett still longs to wreck their marriage. Rhett goes off to war, and Scarlett eventually returns home after the city of Atlanta burns. She finds out that her mother fell ill and passed away, and her family's plantation is in bad shape. She's determined to do what she can to get by and not starve. The first act ends with a famous line, "I'll never be hungry again." After intermission, Melanie tells Scarlett she wants to be of help, but Scarlett basically tells her to get her sick butt to bed. A Yankee soldier shows up at the plantation and walks right into Scarlett's home. She shoots him. Then she and Melanie steal some money off of him. That's what he gets for bothering a young woman and coming into her home unwelcome. Ashley and Scarlett do share a kiss at one point, but he refuses to leave Melanie for her. Scarlett tries to sweet-talk the imprisoned Rhett into giving her money to pay taxes on Tara. He tells her to wait until he hangs, and then he'll leave her in his will. But she doesn't have time for that. So she marries a rich man named Frank Kennedy. He's her sister Sue Ellen's beau, so that doesn't go over well. Frank ends up getting himself killed later on as well. Scarlett finally agrees to marry Rhett, partly for money, she admits. They have a daughter named Eugenia, I believe. I guess Bonnie Blue is just her nickname. Scarlett doesn't want to have any more babies because she's afraid it will make her fat before her time. And yes, she's still in love with Ashley. Rhett tells her even if she got her heart's desire, she wouldn't appreciate it. And he's got a point there. But I think Rhett is being extremely pushy and should have given up on Scarlett a long time ago. At one point, Scarlett is caught hugging Ashley before Melanie's party. Absolutely scandalous. Everyone hates Scarlett for what she's done, but Melanie is still kind to her. Melanie never says anything bad to Scarlett. She's always a very classy lady. Rhett wants a divorce, and he wants to take Bonnie with him to London, which he does. But Bonnie wants her mother, so he ends up bringing their daughter home to Scarlett, which turns out to be a mistake because Bonnie gets it in her head to ride her pony and jump over a fence. She falls and breaks her neck and dies. So Rhett is especially devastated. We learn all the details from Mammy as she discusses the aftermath of the fatal fall with Melanie. Soon after, Melanie gets sick and dies. What's with all the dying? It seems if you weren't dying in the war, you were dying of typhoid fever, or you were dying in childbirth, or you were being thrown from a pony. The misery is unending. And then you're just gone. Gone with the wind, I suppose. And Rhett leaves Scarlett. Finally. He should have left her years ago. He delivers his classic line when she asks him what she's to do now. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Too little too late, as far as I'm concerned. So here are my thoughts on the movie. I haven't read the book yet. I think Scarlett was a fool to keep chasing after Ashley, but I can understand what it's like to have your mind fixed on a particular person. It's not easy to let go. But she was a spoiled brat, too. As for Rhett, he acted like he was so superior to Scarlett, but I'm sorry, he kept pestering her, and I'm really not sure how he was all that better than Scarlett was. So the main difference is that he wasn't trying to be a homewrecker, and I guess that is a big difference. Scarlett had a couple of husbands, but they died off quickly enough. Rhett wasn't trying to steal her away from them, unless I missed something. Still, if a woman says she doesn't want you, take her no for a no and move on. Mammy was a real spitfire. I liked her sass. She was always accusing Scarlett of acting like poor white trash. Scarlett tells Rhett at one point that Mammy compares her to a mule, and Rhett appreciates that. He decides Mammy is his kind of woman, and he and Mammy actually get along pretty well. Poor Bonnie. She never stood a chance with those parents. Too busy fighting to look after her best interests. Her parents were too busy fighting, to look after their daughter's best interests and make sure she listened to them when they told her not to go jumping over fences. Ashley, I don't see the appeal. He was a bit bland. But then he was always with Melanie, and it maybe would have been different if we saw Ashley and Scarlett actually have a relationship as opposed to this one-sided thing. Scarlett's father was this little man with an Irish accent, going on about the land and how it was all about the land. He eventually dies. What a surprise. And in the end, Scarlett decides that she loves the land too, and I guess that's her character arc, because she didn't really care in the beginning. She only cared about Ashley, and maybe she still only cares about Ashley now, but she also cares about the land, so she has changed, I guess. Anyways, I would give this movie... I'll give it 5 out of 5 because it's a classic. It's not really my genre, but it was a good movie. I was quite impressed with it. Decent movie. Felt way too much like a stage production, with the intermission, the overture, the intermission. This is a movie, They could have made it more like a movie, but it did have some, pretty old-fashioned music, like Beautiful Dreamer and Swanee River. So yeah, I would give this 5 out of 5. What are your thoughts, Althea?
Wow, Jennifer, you wrapped up everything about how you felt and how you said your brother felt like, looked like the guy from Monopoly. Hi, you guys. Welcome to my channel. My name is Althea Williams, and today I had Jennifer Woods on my channel. Thank you so much for your time and your patience, Jennifer. Thank you so much for always stopping by, and thank you for allowing me to stop by and sit on your couch and talk about a movie. Well, let's get into it. Gone with the Wind was written back in, drumroll please. Now, see, I was supposed to have this already pulled up. Y'all, excuse me. Well, Gone with the Wind came out in 1939. And from some of the facts I found out, it took the author 10 years, Margaret Mitchell, 10 years to write Gone with the Wind. And then it took 57 years for it to be released. The author Margaret Mitchell was born in November 8th, 1900. She was born in Atlanta, Georgia. She died August 16th, 1949. It says on the internet she died from a traffic collision. So very sad. I also heard, now this has not been confirmed, but there is alleged, so I'll say alleged, that she was working on part 2 of Gone with the Wind. But I don't think it said, but I'm going to deep dive into that, and I'm going to talk more about the author, and I'm going to be talking more about people that I can, deep dive more into. So Gone with the Wind opens up, of course, like Jennifer said, with Scarlett, with the Charlton, I think it was Charlton twins. Okay, whatever, they were twins, and we do learn later on in the movie that they do pass. I think they said that in the movie, but I know they passed in the book. And me and Jennifer will be dissecting the book and picking it apart and comparing the two, because I'm going to go ahead and say it. A long time ago, when my mom told us about Gone with the Wind, told me and my sister about Gone with the Wind, she told us about it. It was a book that went along with it. My sister, of course, read the book, and she was telling me and my mom about it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's so much stuff that they did not unpack from the book. And I wonder why, because it does mention that that Scarlett has 2 beautiful kids before she is married to Red. So Bonnie Blue is not her first child. She's actually her 3rd child. In the book, she has each child by both her husbands. So she only has 1 child of each. And she has a child with Red. And in the movie, she only has 1 child. So, and of course, she is Melanie's sister-in-law. They mention that in the book and in the movie. Now I will not be talking that much about the book right now, because me and Jennifer will be picking that apart and talking and comparing and contrasting. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. There's so much stuff that you will be like mind-blowing. So if you haven't already, please read Gone with the Wind. I will give you a viewer discretion advised. Remember that Gone with the Wind was a while ago, so it will have some parts, but it's not gruesome, but I'm just saying, just giving a heads up. How do I rate this movie? Now, Gone with the Wind is one of my favorite movies, one of my classic movies. I have classic movies because I like Titanic. I love there's so many movies I love that I can't even think of right now, that I can't even name. The Secret Garden. I loved, it's a TV show. It's called Underground. I like that one. There's so many shows that I like, and just to even dissect of what shows are, and just to talk about some things. So, what do I say? So, let's get into it. So, Scarlett, of course, is with the twins, and they're talking, and it comes up about Ashley getting married, and he's marrying his cousin. And Ashley is not very happy about it. She feels as though Ashley is in love with her, and he doesn't know it, and he doesn't know that she loves him. So she comes up with a plan for the next day at the barbecue at his house to tell him, hey, Ashley, I'm in love with you. And I'm going to go ahead and say, where this movie is set at, you're not supposed to tell people that you're in love with him. And Scarlett runs off. And she runs to her father, and her father confirms, like, hey, yeah, Ashley's getting married. And then she basically tries to tell him, he's like, so y'all been submitting? She was like, no. And he was like, basically don't worry about Ashley, whatever. But of course, Scarlett goes in for prayer with her mom and her sisters and her father. And she's thinking about, instead of praying, she is thinking about Ashley. And her mom just looks at her, and she tries to go back to praying or whatever. So the next morning, Scarlett puts on her nice white and green dress with a beautiful hat, and she heads to the party. And of course, when they pull up to the party, because at first she didn't want to eat nothing, and Mammy's like, no, you got to eat because your mama don't want you stuffing yourself. So basically back then, they didn't want women to stuff themselves because they didn't want them to get FAT before it was time. So Scarlett eats a little something because Mammy tells her, She kind of basically makes a statement about Ashley, and Scarlett looks at her and she eats or whatever. Then her dad calls out, Scarlett, Harold, you come down here. So Scarlett leaves, and she goes to Ashley Wilkes' house, and she sees, she pulls up, she sees Ashley's father. And of course, we see his sister, India. Now, India does not like Scarlett because she knows how she falls all over Ashley. And I'm going to go ahead and say it, so everybody knew about her liking Ashley. Did Ashley know this too? Because how she's saying he does not love him. So, of course, she goes to the party or whatever. And Melanie, his fiance, which is his cousin, by the way, she's very fond of Scarlett. And she's very kind-hearted. Everybody loves Melanie, as you can see. Even in the book, everybody loved Melanie. And I'm going to go ahead, I have to say this. Melanie didn't let nobody, and I mean nobody, talk about Scarlett. For real. And basically, she would always say kind things about her. And she would be like, hush your mouth, basically. But in a nice way. She was one of those friends that I think she knew what was going on. But she tried to look past. She tried to see good in people. And that, I'm going to go ahead and say that's really sweet. That really is. But also that can be a curse on your end. So, how do I pick this up? How do I say this? So, of course, Scarlett is going up the stairs. She's fighting with, different beaux that are trying to, basically, I thought you wanted to sit with me at the picnic. She even was flirting with her sister's beau. And I'm like, oh, my God. Then later on in the movie, of course, Scarlett marries one of her sister's beaux, one that likes her, and he's betrothed to her or whatever. But he wants to get his money up. They all came for money, but they lost it during the war, of course, and the Yankees took it. So, of course, Scarlett's going up the stairs, and she looked, because you always can tell when somebody's looking at you, and she sees a man sitting at the downstairs looking at her. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say, now, if you see this nowadays, if you see somebody creeping like Red Butler was creeping at Scarlett, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, of course, I'm happy to get this spoiler alert without giving it, but this is in the second book. We learned that he tells Scarlett in one of the books, that the first book, that she's not close in his age or whatever, but they're not that much far in age. But in the second book, it basically says that Red is older, but in the movie you can see that he is older than her, like way older than her. She looks like she's 19 and he looks like he's almost pushing 50. So I'm gonna go ahead and say you do that now if you want to. You can clink clink, but back then it was okay. So of course he's looking at her, and she asked the young lady, she's like, who is that young gentleman? He looks like he seems to be without my petticoat. And that's what I look like with my petticoat or whatever. And then she's like, oh my dear honey, that's Red Butler. Red Butler is like the wealthiest man there. He not like the wealthy, he is the wealthiest man there. And we kind of figure out it kind of really doesn't tell what Red how he got his wealth, but we know that his family just owned him. And then she told him a story about a girl that he took for riding, and it was late at night. He left during the middle of the day, and they didn't come back tonight. So back then, if you were caught with a woman in a very uncompromised position, you had to marry her, and Red Butler refused. So, of course, women were supposed to be taking a nap before the party that night. So Scarlett gets up, get her own self dressed, and goes to go talk to Ashley. And she pulls Ashley in the room. She's trying to have a conversation with him because, of course, they're all downstairs fussing because Red Butler made a statement that they didn't like. So it's basically like they was having a conversation. And you know how you have a conversation. You give an opinion, and everybody get mad at you. So, it's time for you to walk away. So Red walks away. He goes into the library. Of course, he's in the same place where Scarlett pours out her heart to Ashley. He's hiding over there, bent over. Not bent over. He's basically hid, and Scarlett doesn't know. She doesn't read the room. Because I'm going to go ahead and say, sometimes you can feel when somebody's in the room. So she gets mad at what Ashley says, and she throws a vase at the picture, and Red's like, whoo. And she's like, you should announce your presence, whatever. That's when they had their first encounter of talking. And, okay. Fast forward a little bit into the movie. Melanie's, they declared a war or whatever. And then Ashley's brother, Charles, comes and talks to Scarlett. And he was like, he was been in love with her for a while or whatever. and he asked her hands for marriage, and she was looking at him, and she was looking at everybody out the window. The window looks like she's just looking at everybody else, but she's really looking at Ashley and Melanie, and she's really upset. So she agrees to marry Charles Hamilton, Melanie's brother, oldest brother. They get married, and the day before Ashley and Melanie's wedding, and Ashley kisses her on the cheek, and Scarlett about cries, and Charles like, don't cry, the war will be over soon. Then we learn that he dies of pneumonia, and Scarlett becomes a widow at a young age. She gets married at a young age, and he dies at a young age. So she becomes a wife young and a widow young. And her mom sends her to Atlanta or whatever, because she's moping around, and she doesn't feel like, she doesn't feel like she should be a widow because she's too young to be a widow. Basically, like, she says she feels she doesn't care that she's a widow. She doesn't even like Charles at all. Then she goes to Atlanta with her Aunt Pitty, and she stays there with Melanie. Melanie gets pregnant, and I'm all over the place. Ashley comes to visit them during the holidays, and him and Scarlett share a kiss, and he tells Scarlett, watch out for Melanie. Melanie has a baby, has a little boy, and of course, Red Butler comes to visit them. He takes them off because Scarlett she has a fit to go back home because she wants to be back home with her mother and her father, but mostly her mother because she wants to be cradled because her mom cradled her, basically. But her mom is very strict still, basically her mom's very stern, whatever. But she is, you could tell that Scarlett is somebody that she really does love her daughter, whatever. And of course, Red leads her to, basically to where she needs to go. He's like, well, I'm gonna leave you right here. She's like, what you mean you're gonna leave me right here? He said, I'm going to the army. And of course, they share a hot kiss, even though Scarlett does not want to kiss him. And like I said, he would do this day and age. It wouldn't have been pretty for him. But of course, they share a kiss, and y'all, she ends up slapping him, and he leaves. He chuckles and he leaves. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Red put up with a lot of stuff, even when he got married to her. Because when she lost everything, she went to Tara and she realized her mom was dead, and everybody was like, basically her dad was disheveled and he didn't know how to act, whatever, because he just lost the love of his life or whatever. And Scarlett rebuilds everything, like she said, I'll never be hungry again. And she made sure she was never hungry again. She did. She fed her family. She carried her family it's like she carried them there. Then she married the other young gentleman because she asked Red to for some money, and she offered to marry him, and Red was like, I'm not supposed to do this, whatever. So she marries the other guy, and he has a mill and a store, and Scarlett ends up marrying him because she needed taxes for Tara, because the young lady and her husband that was gonna buy Tara was the same young lady that got her mom sick, and that's why her mother passed on. And Scarlett feels some type of way about it. So Scarlett was like, you'll never get the plantation or whatever. And Scarlett's father basically has a turning point, and basically he realized, these folks are disrespecting my land, and basically they get put out the house, and Scarlett's father starts chasing them, and of course he gets thrown from his horse, because in the beginning of the movie he was okay. After Scarlett had ran away after the twins had told her that Ashley was getting married, her father had jumped over the fence, and the mom was always telling the dad, don't jump over the fence, it's dangerous, it's dangerous, dangerous. She was just fussing at him about it. And Scarlett was like, reminding him, he's like, I won't have my own daughter tell me what to do or whatever. She was like, you're going to tell? She's like, no, I'm not like, I think it was Sue Ellen, her sister, that would always tell about the dad jumping the fence. And so Scarlett does not do that. And of course, this is how he passes on. And that's actually how her daughter passed, because the dad got her a pony, and she was always riding the pony. But she thought she was, basically, like Jennifer said, her parents were too busy arguing and fussing, and Scarlett was never in love with Red. She was never really in love with Red in the beginning. Or maybe she did. I'm going to go ahead and say, I think she loved Red, but she didn't know it. And she was just stuck on Ashley. And I'm going to go ahead and say, being with Ashley, I'm going to go ahead and say the guy they picked for Ashley was not all that. You had better people that wanted, even heck, your first husband was better looking than Ashley. But of course, she was stuck on Ashley. It just be like that sometimes. With a friend like Melanie, and she was true and genuine, she had a pure heart, I would never even look at somebody like Ashley because of a friendship like Melanie. But she never, what would I say? Her and Ashley do kiss each other or whatever. But basically, Melanie was a good friend to Scarlett. I don't care. Nobody says Scarlett did not deserve a friend like Melanie. She really didn't. But in the simple fact, she did. And they became so close. Well, not really close, but Melanie talked to her. And it's just like the book, even in the book, it's like really, really good. I hope you guys will read it. And I can't wait for you guys to listen to our review on the book. What else do I say? Of course, like, she does marry Red or whatever. And she marries him postally because it's money. And Scarlett loves money, as y'all could tell. She loves money. All her husbands were rich. And she gets married to Rhett, and she has a baby with him. And she has a baby with him. Her name is Bonnie Blue. And of course, she falls to her death, like I said. But her parents could have been better for her, because in the movie, even the dad took her away to go visit his mother. I think it was his mother, but I know it's different because I'm reading the book. I read the book and I watched the movie. But I always watched the movie before, so that I watched the movie plenty of times. It's just been a minute, but he wanted a divorce, and Scarlett didn't want a divorce, whatever. And then from a night they had or whatever, because he was drunk, and they end up having sex. And they make another baby. And Scarlett was trying to tell Red. I think then she felt that she was in love with Red. But when she woke up the next morning after they had a steamy sex making and making a baby, and she finds out why he's gone, because he's gone for a while. But it wasn't gone a long time for her to show. She was trying to tell him she was pregnant. He was like, maybe you'll have a miscarriage. And she lunges at him because she's so mad, like she's about to hit him. And he moves, and she falls and tumbles down the stairs. And I knew then, before their daughter, Bonnie Blue, died, I knew then Scarlett was going to blame this man. And I knew he wasn't trying to have her fall, but he was not supposed to let her hit on him. Because Scarlett likes to hit people. If you ever realize, because I had a teacher, he was dissecting how many times Scarlett hit people. And if you all through the movie, Scarlett, she hit her maid. Scarlett was hitting everybody. She was throwing licks. She was throwing Ashley a lick. I think Ashley was the first person she ever hit in the movie. But she was throwing licks. So she lunged for Red. She's like, I'm pregnant. And he was like, by who? Because he had been gone a while. So he's like, okay, who the baby daddy? And I'm going to go ahead and say, Red, you wrong, because before you left, you was drunk. And you basically had a fun night with your wife. And y'all made a baby. And he was like, by who? And she was like, by you, of course. Because he was like, basically, I think he was trying to imply that Ashley was father. But, because we learned Melanie has a little boy in the movie. And after she has her little boy, she can't have any more kids. And Scarlett would give Ashley another baby. If he would, basically run off of her. But her and Braden make a baby. A second little child. And she has a miscarriage, and she falls down the steps, and Red is tore up about it, because he's like, she's not going to forgive me. And Scarlett's like, kind of moping around or whatever about it, and she's outside, and their daughter run or whatever. She's on her pony. She's like, well, I can do this. I can jump. And Brett was like, okay, whatever. Basically, as he tried to talk to Scarlett, like parents like what she had, they really didn't pay attention to her. Like, Brett was like, okay. He was like, I'm talking to your mother. Basically, he was like, he didn't give her that, but he always, when Bonnie was born, basically, he really didn't need Scarlett no more, because he had somebody to love him. Like, they say kids are the reason why, they give you the reason to love and live or whatever. Bonnie was that for him. She was the reason for him to, what Scarlett didn't love him in, his daughter loved him. And she was there for him. She loved her dad, and she was always with him. And Scarlett didn't like that either. And how Rhett was just so close to their daughter, and how she loved her father. That's why when she passed, he went out there and shot the pony. And then I remember when they were trying to bury Bonnie, he didn't want to bury her or whatever. He was like, she's scared of the dark, because Bonnie was scared of the dark. And I remember he fussed at one of the maids, because he came home one time in the movie, and it was such a sweet scene. How Bonnie was screaming because she screamed like her mom because she woke up and it was dark. And he was fussing at the service. And, usually Red wouldn't fuss at the service like Scarlett would. Scarlett be fussed, don't care. And he was like, who let the light go out? And one of the maids was like, well, she has to get over the fear of being scared of the dark. He was like, no. And he used to leave the candle burning for her all night just so she'll be okay. So when she wake up, she would see light because she was so scared of the dark. And Red made sure that she was, basically he was a good father. He made sure she was never scared. And when she passed, it was like nothing to live for anymore. It was nothing to even be with Scarlett. Because when he left Scarlett, he had no reason. He didn't have no reason to stay anymore. Because for one, he watched Scarlett fall for, well, not basically fall. She was in love with somebody else. He heard her say she was in love with Ashley, confess her love. And it was a scene where her and Ashley was caught in the moment. They weren't kissing or anything going on, but they were caught together. His sister caught it. And she had to go to the birthday party. And Red was like, you're going to the party, whatever. And she was like, no, I'm not. I don't feel good. He made her, he made her get up out of bed. He's like, you're going to show your face. He said, you're not fit to ruin Bonnie's name. So he basically went in her closet, got her dress, and made her put it on. And she's like, I don't want to go, because basically she was embarrassed because she knew if she goes to the party, everyone would like her with this. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. Melanie knew exactly what happened. And Melanie, when she walked through the door, because Brett was like, okay, they rode in the carriage, and he's like, good night, Scarlett. She's like, you're not going to do that? He's like, nope. And he left, and Scarlett had to go in there. She had a beautiful red dress on, and with some pretty red earrings, and Melanie saw her, and Melanie came over there and rushed to her. She kissed her on the cheek, and she's like, Scarlett, I'm so happy you're here. And everybody looking like, Melanie, read the room. This girl wants your man. And I believe Melanie always knew, but Melanie just looked past everything. Now, in the book, it's different. It's not bad in the book at all, but it's just some things. It was just like, come on now, Melanie. But I will say this, it wasn't a fair. So I want y'all to be, oh, was she saying a fair? No, I'm not saying it was a fair or anything. But Melanie in the book is just like, okay, now, girl. But in the movie, she would, you could tell that she knew, but she didn't say anything. Because even when she on her dying bed, she's like, take care of Red, because he loves you so. Just like in the opening of Scarlett, when Mammy is dying, she asked her to look after Scarlett. Because I'm going to go ahead and say it. Scarlett, you had the love of your life. Red was there. He loved you, regardless if you didn't love him. And I do agree with Jennifer. Why would you keep pursuing somebody that doesn't love you? I'm going to go ahead and say it. It took her a while. I think Scarlett always loved Red I think she started liking Red really when, in the book, I could tell when she started liking him. I think she started liking Red in the movie was when she got married to him. And after she realized, okay, they had a child, and she got pregnant, and she wanted to tell him something after they had their passionate moment of making a baby. And then she wakes up the next morning, he's gone. Just like they had a passionate moment in Scarlett after, Scarlett almost drowns in the second movie. And Red's trying to warm her up, and then they end up making love, passionate love, and they make a baby again. And, of course, Scarlett hides it from him because she's like, it's not the right time in the movie of Scarlett. Even though it took 57 years for them to make a sequel. Can you imagine your favorite movie taking that long to make a sequel to? It's just like, come on now, pick it up. But, of course, we get the famous line from Gone with the Wind. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And I actually love that line because Red ate with that scene. And he looked her dead in the face, was like, okay. Basically, because he didn't have no child to live for. If that child that she had a miscarriage would have survived, I'm pretty sure that's where he would have stayed because of the child. Just like there wouldn't have been Scarlett, even they would have made Scarlett and Bonnie would have survived. If he would have left her, that would look real cruel because, she had a child. And like I said, divorce was not common back then. Because you get a divorce, everybody look at you like, what the heck you getting a divorce for? This man waited for her for so long because he was not a marrying type. He even said that. So he laid down his morals just so he could marry Scarlett. Because when she got married to him, I think in the movie she even said she didn't want no more children or whatever. Well, she didn't have, Bonnie was her first child in the movie. So, yeah. But I would rate this movie a 10 out of 10 because I like the movie and I like to watch it. And it's just, it used to come on around Christmas time. I don't know if it still does that. But then I forgot. I don't really have cable anymore. I have like streaming services. So, yes. And I also own this movie. And I actually bought the movie for $50 when back in 2015. And then back during the pandemic, I saw it for $2. I was so heated with myself. So what the hell? I paid $50 for this movie. It's $2. So I, of course, bought it. And I ended up giving it to my sister because me and her both are Gone with the Wind fans. And I used to live not too far when I lived in Atlanta because I lived in different parts of Atlanta. And before I left, I lived on the road where they filmed for Gone with the Wind. So, and where they say Tara is on that road. And it was amazing. And I hope you guys read the book and then compare it to the movie. Because it's just like, because when you're reading the book and you're looking at the movie, you're looking like, wait. Because when my sister told me years ago, and I'm like, wait, hold on. She has all this and she didn't say this in the movie. And I wonder why they didn't. But then if you go back to that time, it wasn't really common if you talk about that. But y'all let her be widowed. So why y'all couldn't let her have... Yeah, it's just okay. It makes you side-eye a lot of things. But I hope you guys liked our review. And I thank you so much, Jennifer, for stopping to my channel. Wow. I just looked at how long I've been talking. But yes. Thank you so much for coming. All right. Bye.